Okay. Ita Mitskanatani. Good morning. It is just after 8 o'clock in AM on Sunday, 22nd of June, 2025. Still at the tail end of the lunar cycle Misamsota, the long rains, and finally we are getting our annual monsoon. It's all dropping in a 3-day period, but we're getting it. We're going to be moving into the next lunar cycle soon, and it's going to be berry harvest time. This morning I have a couple of raccoon kits in a cage here on the west side. Good morning, babies. Gonna pick them up and bring them to one of the parks. Normally I bring kits like this to Alexander Wilderness Park. There's a good log jam there I can deliver them into, but I don't know. We'll head out that way, but I don't know if with how muddy it is, whether I can drive in like that this time to where I need to go. Good morning, babies. Yeah, there's a whole... Hey, you guys. It's a whole little family living up in this lady's roof. So I've still got a mama and at least one other kit to catch. See how much more than that. And yeah, I haven't made a video for a while, just a regular nature video. So maybe we'll do some exploring and recording while we're out there too. Might be the way to go. But yeah, at the very least, getting my day started, moving a couple of raccoon babies, and like always I'm gonna move them to somewhere where I hope I can move the rest of the family and have them maybe link up, but you know, the likelihood of that is honestly pretty slim. Honestly pretty slim. This is the making of orphans right here. I don't know whether they'll survive or just become coyote food. Probably the latter. But in any case, we'll go do this release, see what's happening in the wilderness park in general, and then I don't know, for the rest of the day I think Des and the boys want to go take a drive somewhere, so we might do something like that. But for this morning, it's Lethbridge Nature. Let's go check it out. Just having a bit of a look at the current brush as I head down. The current state of the berries. These will be the first berries that are ready. We still got a little ways to go yet. I think after all this rain though, after all this rain, once we get the sunshine, those suckers are gonna fatten up and ripen up really nice. Major harvest year. I think if we want to take advantage of it. We'll see how the Saskatoons and the choke cherries and stuff are when we get down there. It's a white-tailed deer. Don't see them too often on the coulee slopes like that. They're more our forest deer. not, I think we're going to make it over to that log jam in spite of all the standing water and mud. It's not too muddy actually, at least not on these established trails. A little bit worried about coming down here and getting stuck. I don't think there would be any rescue for me. Have to wait it out till everything dries. Extract my truck. Hey little ones. I know, you're right scared. You got good reason to be scared. No more mama. Unless she happens to get caught. They are small enough that they're out foraging with her. So they've got a chance, but how good of a chance, I don't know. Let's see here. Just gonna let them go up here and they can climb into this log jam and seek shelter a little bit at least. Oh, I just seen I think a rabbit over here. Somebody just jumped back in here. All right. There you go. One's out the door. The sibling. Go check it out. You're free. Go on, little one. Yeah, it doesn't take long for them to disappear into this pile. There he is. Go get your sibling before he takes off without you. You're okay. I'm not chasing you. Give me that weasel defense look. All right. Let's head back up to the parking lot and put the truck up there, and we'll take a walk back down and have a look around. Well, I changed my mind about walking in the wilderness park. Once I got to the parking lot, I started thinking, maybe we should come out to Sspopiikimi instead. Because even though the wilderness park is a bit more isolated and larger in area, the species diversity just isn't there compared to what we got here with the wetlands, you know. So we'll take a little walk around Sspopiikimi this morning, see what's new here. I'm glad to observe that with these rains, the water in the pond has risen considerably. That is good news. We'll go see what kind of waterfowl are around. I see a couple of geese. There are no goslings. Were no goslings born in the pond here, or at least none that survived much past their first week. I don't know if any were born actually, though. I didn't see any. So that's unfortunate. There are some There are some ducks though, some mallards and maybe some teals that had ducklings survive, so probably see some of them. And just in general take a look around. Beaver Lodge is looking good. I think this morning we'll go across onto the wetlands and go look at the old Beaver Lodge, which is now kind of caved in. I want to check on the how well the mint is growing over there and other things. We are still in the roots and shoots part of the season, you know, those roots and shoots, and then the fruits, and then the seeds come later. What do we got growing out here? Looks like some sweet clover starting to grow in here. Not seeing any turtles basking today, but of course, oh, look at the hoary cress is already yellow and dying. It's already played out. Yeah, no turtles yet this morning. Though I don't really expect them to be basking in the overcast skies, you know. Yeah, that's wild that the hoary cress is already this far along. It's already at its seed stage. Seeds don't really have much of that hard mustard bite to it. Hoary cress, the leaves are better. We'll see if we can find any of the other good mustards around. There definitely are some. We got several species of mustard that grow here at the pond and along this very strip. Yeah, it's got a little bit of that mustard bite. It's kind of an aftertaste. Not excessive though. Some of these mustards out here are quite tasty. See a few tree swallows moving around. Not a lot of insects in the air for them to be grabbing right now. Lots of little, this year's little cottontails. Look at this little baby. Hey baby. Hey baby. Yeah, I've been getting tagged on social media posts with people coming across these cottontails in their yards and thinking that they're domestic rabbits. Somebody lost their rabbit, or you know, or ditched one, or what have you, you know. But really it's just a totally wild species. Man, looking at these berries here, it looks like the birds have already picked the heck out of these currants even before they're ready. Oh, this bush is doing all right. Yeah, a lot of times here at Sspopiikimi there's just too few berries. That's just Saskatoons especially. Oh, there goes another cottontail. The Saskatoons especially get eaten up before they're ripe. There he is. heading into the bush. It's what I used to call the tick zone, because the heavy rabbit presence in this little area leads to there also being a lot of wood ticks, or at least there were at one time. I haven't gotten a tick here in years, to tell you the truth. I used to get ticks fairly often, but it has been a while. Got yarrow in flower here. Sspopiikimi. Major anti-inflammatory plant. Also known as a kind of a insect repellent. Robin singing away. A little bit of the yellow sweet clover already in bloom. We'll go look at the state of the yucca. Here we have some of the golden bean, all in seed. You do not want to eat those pods, those little pea pods on it. It will be poisonous. I heard a killdeer up here just a second ago. People are sometimes surprised to find killdeer away from the water, but they're not necessarily a water bird. There's that sound, the killdeer sound. There it goes. Yeah, they're not necessarily a water bird. They just like open areas. And some of this area has some pretty nice open spaces. Whew. A little bit muddy this morning. Sspopiikimi, the man sage, ceremonial sage growing. Sweetgrass should be at its peak right now. I haven't been picking. I need to go get at least a few braids for winter. Up here at our only wild yucca patch in Lethbridge. You can see they still have seed pods from last year. No new seed pods growing this year though. And I guess it's sometimes like that with yucca. They have, like my apple tree, they have off years where they don't seed out at all. Not really indication of it, poor health or anything. It's they put a lot into it last year. There's even these little outliers. This guy here, it's only a few years old. Seeded out pretty good last year. The winter fat It's looking pretty good. If I was an ungulate, I might be excited. We're already getting hairy golden aster blooming, even though really it's one of the last flowers of the season. It's already showing up. Here's some nice mustard plants growing in this little spot of buckbrush here. This is the plant, one of the plants that has the really tasty leaves. Yeah, it's got that nice mushroom spice. Unfortunately, I haven't found a way to preserve it. Whew. I don't know if I've tried freezing, but I tried drying it, and drying it just kills that flavor, whatever that is. Here we can see the current state of development of the berries on the skunk brush sumac. They've still got a ways to go. They're going to be bright red and glistening with citric acid. They taste like Sour Patch Kids. Really strong citric acid. They're fun to eat, but they make probably better used as kind of an ingredient for a tea or a ice water that tastes like a little like lemonade, you know, a citrusy water, so to speak. Eh? You get really sticky picking them though. Man, it is nice to see the river having risen, because it was getting pretty low. Unfortunately, last week we did have a kid die out here, drown underneath the high level bridge. And I don't know what it is about the high level bridge, but it seems to be a decent number of drownings happens right there. Maybe Sspopiikimi, the underwater people. Here we have showy milkweed in bloom. You can actually eat these flower pods when they're closed like this, but once they're open and flowering, well, pretty much the whole plant is just got too much of that white silicone-y milk in it, you know. It's not good for us. It does have one of the best fibers though. I haven't figured out exactly how to tap it, but that is what the orioles, the northern orioles, use for their hanging basket nests. Most people look at these showy milkweeds and want to protect them here because it is the only plant that the monarch butterfly lays its eggs on. We, however, rarely get monarch butterflies. I've seen one in about 20 years. Get lots of, what do they call them? Shoot. I want to say emperor, but that's not right. But it almost sounds like that. Anyway, there's a monarch mimic that some years we get lots of those. But even those I haven't seen too many of this last while. I think the insect population in the coulees has dropped dramatically in general. I don't know if it's all associated with the mosquito control that they're using in the water. The city's using might be associated. I don't know, but definitely a lot less insects than there used to be, and as a result, a lot less birds. Here we got white sweet clover, like yellow sweet clover, getting started. Those flowers make a really nice kind of vanilla-ish nectar, right? So you eat those flowers, they taste really good. They also do a pretty decent seed when they go to seed, but you have to be careful with those because if you pick them too late, they get this mold on there that does bad things to your brain. But yeah, Wednesday, there were some boys, teenage boys, swimming out here, and one of them went underwater, didn't come back up, and his buddies, of course, you know, got rescue involved. The police cordoned off the area. They had boats out there and their professional water search team going at it. They couldn't find him for the rest of Wednesday evening, and it got too dark. They packed up, started back out again first thing Thursday morning, and I think about by 9 o'clock in the morning or so, they had found the body. Drowned. 17-year-old boy. So I don't know what it is, whether people don't know how to swim or whether the river just eats people once in a while. Even the famous Nicholas Sharon, who used to run the ferry, taking people back and forth across the river before there were bridges here. Nicholas Sharon died in this river. They named a pool and a lake after him on the west side. Fairly ironic, but it happens. Last Sunday, I was doing the walk and talk with Carol. She didn't want to do it this morning because of the moisture, but she wants to regather on Tuesday for this week. So I think Tuesday morning I'll take a walk with her. But anyway, when we were out here on last Sunday, a week ago today, seen a really big sturgeon surface on the river. Big splash. A couple of kayakers came past it, and from our vantage point up on the cut bank here, we could see the big sturgeon beside their kayak, and it was quite long. I'd say a good maybe 4 to 5 foot sturgeon. Wasn't like a monster 6-7 foot or anything, but it's a pretty decent sized fish. You can see here how the Saskatoons are coming along. They also have a lot of ripening to do. But like I say, here at the pond, they're probably not going to get to ripen before the birds take them. But I've got some other areas where there's lots of Saskatoons that I harvest from, especially on the Blood Reserve, where there's basically food forests, indigenous food forests still. Alright, we're gonna hike down and go on the wetlands. Choke cherries are still a long way from being ready. Just little green beads at this point, but that is not unusual. Our next moon that we're going into is Sspopiikimi, when the Saskatoon berries ripen, and then we'll be going into Pakipist, when the choke cherries ripen. They're one of the last berries before our winter berries. And indeed, if they get a little cold shot, they're kind of sweeter. See how the wolf willow is doing down here. I wonder if it's already played out its flowers. Probably. Here we have more milkweed in bloom. Some of them white flowers, some of them more pink. And our wolf willows. Yeah, I'm thinking the flowers already played out on those guys. Let's go look out this way. Turtles should have mostly laid their eggs already this month. Those nests will be up here on the shoreline, but completely invisible. When the turtle packs the nest back up with soil and stuff, you don't even notice it's been worked on, to tell you the truth. This used to be really good duck territory. Used to be underwater most of the year, the wide South Pool, but hasn't been for a while now. Last few years, maybe even last 5 or more years. Super dry. The whole reason that this duck blind used to be here. It's burned out now, and they're not going to repair it because people come out to the duck blind to do other things once in a while. But in either case, it's not really an overlook for the ducks anymore anyway, since it's so dry here. Got good asparagus. Well, here you can see the remains of turtle eggs from the past. They've been dug up. So this white flecky stuff is, those are turtle egg shells. This is the flower of the wild licorice root. And this, of course, is asparagus going to seed. Yeah, there's a good deal of asparagus around here. It's nice. Some years there's lots of morel mushrooms. I haven't found any for a couple of years now, though. I don't know how they're doing anymore. Since the fire, I guess. Haven't seen too much of them. I've got some red-winged blackbirds who are upset with me being right in this area, they may have a nest in the reeds here. There's one. Yeah, this is a red-winged nest right here. Uses some of the reeds themselves for the outside, and then inside some tighter little grasses and stuff to make the bowl. Yeah, these guys are very upset that I'm scoping it out. No eggs. Here we have one lone young Russian olive. Worth noting, because we're going to talk about Russian olives a little bit when I get to the other side of the wet meadows. Where there's a larger tree. Yeah, this summer there's been a big campaign running, an official campaign to eliminate Russian olive trees from the coulees, which I have been protesting somewhat online. So anyway, we'll talk about that when we get to the grandma tree over here, the older of the Russian olives in at Sspopiikimi. But it's that one tree you can see all the way around the wetlands, you know, nothing else. They're invaders, I guess. Super invaders. The Russians, they're on their way. Another killdeer. Again, open space. By water, yeah. And even in Blackfoot, there's called Sspopiikimi, which is like the shadow on the water, I think. Or underwater shadow, even. Their nests are hard to find. They're just a little scrape on the ground. Tiniest of eggs. Tiniest of babies. Here we've got the mint that I wanted to come check out. Gonna let it grow a bit bigger, but it's getting there. And the old beaver lodge just caved in. Lots of mint growing on the old beaver lodge. Yeah, when they come out here later in the season, make a big mint harvest. Yeah. Now we're coming upon the senior villain. Or at least that's how some naturalists want people to think. The Russian olive tree that's been here pretty much, well, for sure, all 20 years that I've been observing this place and longer. You can tell he's getting old. A lot of it's already dead. It's kind of hanging in there. But in that 2 decades, the only other Russian olive tree that's shown up here on the wetlands is that one I just showed you. That little baby I just showed you. Yet these guys are considered to be dangerously invasive. They were originally brought here, I think, in the 1930s because they do well in arid environments and they're good for, you know, creating shade. Like they're a good shade tree, and you can plant them in erosive areas and it'll slow the erosion. That's why you see them all down, you know, going into Indian Battle Park and such. They were planted there on purpose, and they're doing all right. But people have been told that that now, like, the discourse has changed. Back then, everybody was told it was such a great new addition, and everybody was encouraged to plant Russian olives as ornamentals here. And now the discourse has changed, the science has changed, because there are places where they're getting along very well, but the concern is that they're going to displace the cottonwood forests, the willow flats. You know, they're going to displace all these native cottonwoods and willows and such. And that just, to me, like, observing it here seems an absurd conjecture, you know? Like, there may be some places in, I don't know, New Mexico, Colorado, you know, other places in the southern states where they are more abundant. But here they certainly don't seem to be just taking over at all. Not only that, but what do we expect is going to happen? You know, you look at the forest main here. Used to be a rich, thick forest. I loved it in here because of all the trees and such. And then we had the fire, and almost, you know, probably 70%, maybe even 80% of the forest burned. And it's not going to bounce back. It's not going to bounce back. And the reason it's not going to bounce back is because every year it gets drier and drier and drier. And we haven't had floods in forever. You know, we should have a flood at least every couple of years. This wetlands used to, even when I was studying it here a decade or so ago, used to flood up really good. But we're in global warming and things are changing here. The cottonwoods, if you look at in Lethbridge, go drive on the road over top Cottonwood Park and look down there at the big forest that we call Cottonwood Park. Probably half the cottonwoods are dead because it's too dry. The cottonwoods are diminishing naturally. What do we think is going to naturally replace them? I think it's going to be trees like the Russian olive, which, although it may not be an indigenous species, what is indigenous when we're talking about nature here? We're not talking about human societies. I think we fucking project all that anthropocentric BS onto the plants and animals, and you know, and we take on this war trope. We have to go to war against these trees for some reason. Not that they have no qualities. Look, there's a nest. I'll show you. Oh, maybe I'm mistaken. No, I'm not mistaken. There is a nest up there, a bird nest, and I've found lots of bird nests in Russian olives. Birds that are indigenous here. Birds like the robins and the kingbirds and catbirds and yellow warblers. They'll all nest in this. When it's flowering, you know, a lot of local insects visit it. When it's in seed, in fruit, the birds eat its fruit. Our local birds. It's fitting into this ecology way better than we humans are. But we're going to go to war against it. So I've been, you know, in my kind of protest online against the coal, I've been using AI and generating these satirical, old-fashioned war propaganda posters relevant to the Russian olives, you know. Know your enemy. if you see something, say something. You know, it is kind of, and I'm hoping that people get the irony and don't think it's an actual, like, this is a good poster to try to get rid of the Russian olives. This flower here, it'll become more abundant. In fact, I should take a picture of it, see if I can use AI to help me ID it. I've never learned this flower, but right around this tree, it grows very abundantly. But only right around this tree. Yeah, so this is the big villain, and in 20 years, it has invaded pretty much nothing. Pretty much nothing. It's probably planted here by one of our local birds. Anyhow, I'm going to take a picture of some of these flowers, see if I can get an AI identification. Yeah, down here on the outskirts of the Northwood, you can see there are a couple of other Russian olive trees. That one. There's one or two up here. This is actually bullberry, not Russian olive, but there is a Russian olive hidden back behind there. Most of these trees were here. All 20 years I've been studying out here as well. Are they taken over? Nope. But that's the rap they're getting. And this summer, you can even earn yourself a merit badge of sorts if you're willing to go out and chop them down. You get a vanquisher badge, I think it's called. Like, there are no badges for being human and harvesting things out here. It's just for supposed stewardship. But in this case, vanquisher, you know. Obviously, a wartime trope. Shoot, I ran out of camera battery right in the middle of my vanquisher monologue, but I'm sure y'all get the point. If anything's gonna cause these cottonwoods and willows to have issues, it's our agricultural industry, who are claiming all of the waters in the reservoirs that should be allowed to come down river and flood out these places so that these plants can continue to propagate themselves. But we're not going to do that. Not going to take money away from business, water away from business. They get to do whatever the hell they want. And meanwhile, nature is adjusting, and the so-called naturalists don't like it. They don't like nature's selective choices. And instead of coming out here and doing roots and shoots and berries and such like a human being would, they're out here doing the vanquishing thing, which is also something a human being would do, but of a very cultural ilk. I don't agree with the hatred of introduced plant and animal species that are getting along here. It's anything that's not getting along, which is us, basically, where the problem lies. Anyhow, you get my point. So I think that's a wrap for the pond this morning. And go home, see what Des and the boys want to do. maybe I'll continue the video with them, go somewhere, or maybe I'll make a new video, or maybe no video at all. But in any case, I thought we hadn't taken a nature walk for a while. Bring you out this morning, walk around, see what's what. We are in the solstice weekend, you know, the summer solstice. Another thing that the culture is trying to wrap up with human celebrations, or celebrations of humans instead of, you know, the sun. Like yesterday was National Indigenous Day, I believe. Which, you know, if you're going to put something on the solstice, that makes sense, but why don't we just celebrate the solstice for the natural event? Why do we got to celebrate ourselves? That's a very Christian, Catholic thing to do, you know. The church took over all the old pagan holidays and made them about Jesus and people. And all calendar long now, we're celebrating our birthdays, we're celebrating our war memorials, we're celebrating our, you know, our history, not the natural world and our relationship with it. Which, I don't know. Do I sound like a crotchety old man at this point? I'm starting to feel like that. Anyhow, it's a wrap for the pond. We'll see where it goes from here.